Okay, I think we can start. It's our first keynote panel of the day. What does it take to turn global innovation into local impact? This keynote panel looks at how world-class technology, AI and software development are shaping Serbia's position in the global tech ecosystem. We'll explore how multinational companies cultivate talent, foster innovation, and build sustainable growth where global vision meets local expertise. Our panelists are Djordje Simic, Director of Software Development at AMD Serbia and AMD Serbia Country Manager. Drazen Sumic, Director at Microsoft Serbia, Director of Development Center at Microsoft Serbia, and Erhun Arkan, President of Consumer Applications at Rivian and Volkswagen Group Technologies. Thank you all for being here today. And my basic question, I can start from Erhun, is why Serbia?
Well, Serbia, actually, a few factors. I mean, number one is the talent, and then also talent pipeline. When we started looking at the various countries in Europe, I think one thing became obvious is the talent coming from the universities, educational institutions. And then we discovered there is 85,000 students basically doing STEM type of work. So that was quite interesting for us. So the other factor was basically we got lots of support from the industry. So lots of companies and etc. And then also we got some support from the certain government institutions. So combining all that, actually, we decided to invest in Serbia. And we are pretty happy with what we have.
How long are you here?
I've been here 1.5 years. But the operation here has been 3 years. Myself, before here, I was the general manager for Canada. Yeah.
And how many people are working for Rivian Volkswagen here?
Rivian Volkswagen combined right now, we have 550 to 600. And we ramp up that within, basically, within last 3 years, as I mentioned. And most of these work, I would say 75 to 80% is all technology, technical, you know, around the full software stack.
Okay. Drazen, I know that you're not with Microsoft for 20 years, but what was the reason for Microsoft to come here 20 years ago?
So we are a little bit of a different story. So basically, the development center of Microsoft has grown organically here. And it was founded by people who grew up in Serbia, went to US, became very successful at Microsoft, and then came back and founded the development center there. And then organically, from project to project, from area to area, we have grown it. And it's a curiosity, but for example, our entire management structure is Serbian. So right, basically everything is domestically grown. Management structure, technical leadership, 85% of the employees as well today, even though now we've started.
And comparing with the other development centers that Microsoft has, is that different or?
That is actually quite different. If you look at Microsoft development centers globally, there are some which have been very strategic investments for a very long time, like India, because of the huge human potential there and quantity that can be achieved there. Israel, because of the startup ecosystem and very strong support from US. Ireland, because of the tax treatments and simply how financially it makes sense for Microsoft to be there for various reasons. Or it was acquisitions. For example, Skype was acquired 15 years ago, and then we have a development center in Estonia, in Tallinn, due to that. Belgrade is one of the very few places, the only one I know actually, that was organically grown by the people who came here, founded it, and then very persistently have developed it over the years.
Djordje, looking from the hardware point, why is Serbia a good place?
Well, maybe first connect to our model of presence here in Serbia. So it's a third approach. I mean, and I see it as successfully, equally successful. So basically, it comes from the cooperation of a local company that worked for AMD for 6 years, and based on that good results we had in this local with cooperation with AMD, basically AMD decided to open offices here. So that happened 15 months ago, in September last year. What does it mean? We started with some 95 people already in some way, technical way, integrated in the projects, in the stuff that AMD is working.
So what kind of projects were that?
Mainly software projects.
Oh, software projects. Okay.
Software projects at that time. But in fact, yes, AMD is a silicon company, but you have to have a whole ecosystem in order to sell the silicons today. So it's not possible otherwise. So all the 95 people at this early stage were software guys. And during this period of 6 years, we managed already to be well positioned in some critical, important core business of AMD in the software domain.
So you all mentioned some of the advantages that Serbia has, but what would you say is the main advantage, Djordje?
But I think we will agree on that. It's a talent, in my opinion. There is no other argument why the top world company, tech companies are coming here. Everything else can be considered as a, maybe in my words, normal working environment. Okay? It must be present, whatever it means. It's infrastructure, rule of law, whatever it means. But on the other side, if there is no talent, no one would come. There is a talent. Whole IT community, all of us working from different companies are proving that over the 10 of years, like in previous 20, 30 years, that there is a talent here, that we are progressing, that we are catching up the momentum with the world in many aspects, and that's the reasons why the companies are coming.
Drazen, how's that? I assume that you will agree because you already said something similar.
Yep.
Of course, you can add if there is any other reason, but how is that talent developing in the past 20 years?
I think the talent and the ecosystem here has developed tremendously in the past 20 years. So, for example, if I was not at Microsoft 20 years ago, but I was in the ecosystem, and if you asked me whether we would have this many people working in various cutting-edge areas of the industry, of the IT industry today, it did seem impossible at the time, right? But it has grown tremendously over the years. As I mentioned, we've grown organically, so we've seen the market also and the candidates there. You know, coming in and in 3 years hiring 500 people with good talents here wasn't possible in 2007 or 8, but today it is because the ecosystem has grown a lot. And I would just emphasize one more thing that I kind of also mentioned in my first statement. In Serbia, we cannot, at the world stage, we cannot really compete with quantity of people, right? Because there are always countries like China and India, that even Romania, that you can not stand up to, right? Because even Romania is 3 times bigger. But in terms of quality, in terms of what we can do, in terms of education of people, and in terms of know-how that we can develop, by also people going and creating new companies. From our existing companies, they create new companies, they transfer knowledge, they educate new people, we can grow quality. And that quality brings companies. I've never had anyone at Microsoft or in other companies who came and said, look, I came to Serbia because I can hire 1,000 people quickly. No, they came because they can hire good people. And then a reasonable amount of them. Yes, so
yeah, but
that's key.
You two guys have a good insight in what is emerging from universities. And God forbid I hear even from the high schools these days. So much better than Erhun, for example. So what would you say about that? I mean, how do you see the new generations coming into the market? We know that the old generations, don't ask me how I know, are always saying that the newcomers are not as good as we were when we were young.
We do a lot of our hiring straight from universities, and then we grow expertise with these people inside the company. That model still works. That model works. Of course, if you need to hire 100 people, it's tougher. It's tougher than it used to be to find 10 or 20. But our universities are managing to produce good talent straight out the door. From what I've seen over the last few years, and I'm not yet concerned about the capabilities of the universities. Of course, pending that they continue to work with good quality and you know, like that we have some kind of more certainty in the next few years than we have right now.
Just shortly about that.
Yes, I fully agree, but in the same time I can say that is partly partly all of these people here, partly government responsibility to help this process.
Yes.
So to go there to university, have the lectures for the students to help in different ways. There is many different ways we can influence and help, support. These are the key arguments. So it's in some way it's maybe for a stronger, larger company.
Are you doing that? I mean,
Absolutely. I was doing that all my career. Not only being an AMDer. It's different now when you are in a position of, from a large global corporation. AMD is 30,000 people, you know. So it's different when I was inside, for example, local smaller company. But anyway, the mindset must be there, and there are many ways we can all do it together.
Here's an example. I think in the industry, we do have the mindset. Like if you look at what Microsoft has done over the years, we've basically created Petya Foundation, right, which is now an independent organization, and many people are contributing, and they are driving it in tremendous ways. Also, the industry influenced the government to introduce the digital world informatics curriculum into schools and so on, right? But there is only so much we can do. I think the society in its entirety needs to push as well. And if I would say, you know, like one of the messages we can send to any government of Serbia in the future is there are some very important things. Let's say it's 3 things, and it's education, education, and education that we need to get right.
so Erhun,
Just adding to that some reflection, even though I'm probably, my life is, I'm an expat here. And then this is my 6th country also. I have a good reflection of the university talent coming in. At this point of time, even we are fairly new, but we have 25 plus interns in Rivian right now. And then, and also we sponsor lots of curriculums. We have our engineers go there, basically educate the talent. Again, this is also works win-win for both parties because we are kind of shaping the talent, and then they are also, we end up tapping into that talent. But there is lots of openness, at least from our side, from the universities, from the deans, and then, you know, those managing universities. And we have a couple also EV car programs with them and etc. So there is a pretty close cooperation with that. And one thing that we offer actually kind of amazes them is our product. And then we give them basically the opportunity to contribute something to the product that's going into public. So basically what I'm trying to do that, you know, EV, right now, electric vehicles, like we update software every month. So every month that you have the same hardware, but you are getting a different experience. And you are sharing that experience with your loved ones because you are driving, it's a unique product. But then, like, one of our interns, basically, his first code went into that software, and in a month, he was able to see that. That kind of proximity to product, I think it's a great motivator for the talent.
and just to finish with this part, I mean, what would you advise young people here? Should they be proactive in approaching you, sending you CVs, even if you don't have any openings, or are you headhunting? What would you say? Let's put it somehow. Let's quantify it something. Erhun, let's.
I think proactivity is the key. You know, it's please be proactive, and we have folks here. We have a booth, and then we have a program, established program, and we are hiring. But I think the proactivity, it's especially in the US company, like you guys, will be appreciated so very much.
Yeah, absolutely. I think be proactive about applying and be proactive about setting some goals, like landing a great job in a company that's very ambitious, where you can advance. Be proactive and be ambitious. I would say I mean, all of us are hiring. I think you can see a lot of hiring in industry, both for the full-time jobs and internships. We all have internship programs which are quite substantial, as Erhun said. Yeah.
When we're already there, give me a hint. What do you like to see in CV or in person that makes you like really enthusiastic about it?
I can say, so the AMD mindset, but that fits the mindset that I've been seeing in previous company I've been working with, is that equally, if not more important, is personality. Why? Because we are in tech world and there is a threshold that everybody who's joining the company must pass, okay? But in order to have a proper mindset of the whole company, that ideas are not a single person ideas, but the team effort that evolves between us in the open discussion, openness, best idea wins, or as a AMD slogan says, okay, not quoting, but anyway, that's the essence, okay? But of course, there are some kind of technical thresholds that must be passed. When they are passed on this level, or that level, that means you are on a different position in the company or your salary is that and that. But the openness and open culture is something that we are really looking for.
I mean, Android is always good. So it's basically, yeah, we have what we have here full stack. So basically, like when you look at the car, right, you have infotainment based on Android, most of them open OS. And then you have baseboards sitting on top of the chipset like AMD or Qualcomm in this, you know, chipsets like that. So that kind of talent. So embedded drivers and etc. Then you have mobile app working, connectivity, and you have the modems basically connecting that. So we are developing everything in-house. I mean, Rivian is one company, do not use tier ones, they use everything in-house. And then also going to the cloud, then the factory system, then SAP connection. So we have the full stack basically here. We have around 25 to 30 different.
No, but I was asking for the hint. I mean, what do you like to see in a person approaching you, or?
Proactivity would be good in the approach because, and also again, like I apologize if I'm being a little bit, but one of the nuances that I feel like the culture here, amazing talent, good technical, good motivation, dedication, but initiative taking. I think that's one thing needs to be improved. Like when I talk to the intern in Palo Alto, he thinks his next job is the CEO of the company. When you have here, there is certain cultural reservedness. There is like, but there is that, you know, jam inside, but it's, you need to show that jam to outside. So that kind of cultural nuances, I think that they're deep in the culture. I think improving that, taking more initiative, more proactivity, that's why it's great to have also Serbian expats coming back here, cultivating the culture here.
A good thing we have 3 local CEOs here, so probably you were proactive and you had this initiative.
If I may add slightly, just don't want to steal the time. Maybe I wouldn't say that the Serbians in general quiet and shy, but finding the right spot in these big systems that are coming to our country is a challenge. And and winning the trust of the people that are living in US, Canada, wherever, is a path. It's not happening over the night. It takes some time. It's a process.
Yep.
So I trust in your folks that they are going to show up in the best manner that
they
you are expecting them.
And also, sorry for interrupting. In my case, I am in the unique position, originally Turkish, so I have some cultural lenses. Lived in China for a long time, and then lived in the Asian region. So lived in Europe, lived in Canada and US, so I can see some of these cultural angles. Yes. So I feel like I'm in a relatively unique situation to see the jam.
Okay, but if somebody wants to land a job in your company and he's young, he has initiative, he's proactive, he would like to do something very exciting, something that is world-class. So if I say that your development centers are basically getting leftovers from what is done in the main center, would you say that is true or false, Drazen?
So I would say that is false, very much, because look, I think in every development center everywhere you can find a pocket where you have a small initial team that was created like yesterday. And of course, they will not go to rule the world in the first month or first year. Right? Like they will get some projects, they will start learning, onboarding. But in our development center, about 3/4 or 4/5 of the development center teams are much more mature than that today. So for example, our SQL team, which I lead, Today is about 160 people. It's 18 years here, right, in Serbia. And I sit in the global SQL leadership team. That's a team that leads all Microsoft SQL technologies globally. So it's not a
So there's no better place to work in SQL team than your team?
If you want to work in databases, in Europe, this is the best place, right? And I would argue, you know, like, why would you go to the States, see what's going on there? So, so stay here, work in databases. We have SQL that owns services. We own cloud services. We do planet scale things. Like literally, if you do a change, we ship it to our global cloud, which is over 100 regions next month. And we do things from product management to rock solid software engineering, all the way to site reliability engineering and data science and AI. So basically a combination of this. Let me give you an example. We have internally run a project that got created here, and we were the first ones to invest to go create a special quality engineering copilot over a very large code base. Like in Microsoft, you have very large code bases, 20 million, 30 million lines of code. Open source copilots or tools for software engineering don't work at that scale, right? Or even the vanilla copilots that you see in some products. So we created a project, we invested, we created something that works really well for our employees, and we are expanding it globally. So basically now we have other teams who have joined in the meantime, but the initiative started here. And this is something that we are, things like those are things that we are really proud of, and that's the differentiation that we're going after.
Same answer is basically the same. The only difference, major difference, is that we are on that path that Drazen just described. So the presence of Microsoft is 20 years in Serbia. We are just cumulating with the external work. If we count it like 6-7 years working with or as AMD or for AMD, and that's the difference. But we are already having the projects here in Serbia that on a roadmap of AMD are mainly executed by people from Serbia. So majority of the team is in Serbia. For example, one of that examples is Rockham on Radeon. So there is a demo here on the DSC. This is a conference, so that you can take a look. And the people from our offices are doing that.
Erhun.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting, that's actually our biggest retainment. So basically, we want to have first-tier jobs here, and we have our motto is accountability and autonomy. So when you are setting up a team here, you know, make sure it's manager here, the team is here, reporting line within the site, and there is a self-sufficiency. They have accountability of delivering, and they have the autonomy. So basically, that way they can operate so just like any other site for us. I mean, some of the shining examples, this year, for instance, we launched first automaker with our mapping solution based on Google SDK. I'm not talking about basically SDK coming, all the user interface and all the interactions developed by Rivian. This is the only car maker that we launched this, and this was launched from here. So, and then...
Where did the idea came from?
Well, idea, it wasn't like innovation, it's a strategic, basically, I mean, in the automotive market, there are multiple ecosystems trying to capture the infotainment screen, which is basically your customer interface. Obviously, there is Android Auto, there is, you know, CarPlay and etc. So, and then also like car makers like us and a few others do end-to-end their own solution. But yet you want to offer on your customer, on the experience, ecosystem, but yet offer a very competitive mapping solution, like in this case.
No, I asked because I wanted to know what, I mean, are you encouraging your engineers to come up with new ideas, with new things that can be developed from the scratch here?
Certain domains, this one was extremely strategic, obviously, lots of brain involved, but the execution of the project happened here. But just getting back to our original, like our trust to Serbia, we have Rivian automaker, right? So Rivian and Volkswagen, this is a software house providing solutions to basically Rivian, and as well as our first customers is ID1, Porsche, Audi, these are all public, so it's going to be using all Rivian software. So basically, the teams in Serbia will be providing this software to German automotive industry. So people here, they have an opportunity to change the feature of the automotive industry if it's not Europe. So that's kind of jobs that we have here.
Just to remind you to send your questions if you have any. I'll be checking on my phone if the questions are coming. But
And maybe Zoran,
yeah.
just briefly.
Yeah, I wanted also to add something, but please start.
Since you mentioned ideas, I think you are aiming at something which I would call entrepreneurship. Like, how you go with entrepreneurship within the company, which is very important because that shows ambition, shows initiative. Of course, companies like it because lots of potentially new good stuff come through it. But ideas are really the cheapest part in that process, right? Like there usually are lots of ideas, but like getting from an idea to something that's a proof of concept, it seems it's feasible, and then pitching, and then understanding how it fits into the company strategy and whether it fits the market, the customers, and so on, is usually the harder part of the process. So, but those are very, very important parts. So it's like you can have an idea, but if you don't do all of the needed steps with it, it's not going to go anywhere. Not in the company, not in the market.
Is there a system that encourages people to come up with the ideas?
Yes, I mean, in every good structure, in every good company, you should be able to push ideas up and push your pitches and suggestions up through the management chain.
Yeah, Djordje, can I go further with asking how are the projects assigned to the local development centers?
But like it's a decision, okay? And in all good systems, in good companies, decisions are made in some similar way. In some, it's a general problem. So you have a problem, you need to collect the stakeholders from different angles of that problem. So if you're speaking about assigning the project in Serbia, so it must be someone that knows the technical details of the problem we have to solve or technologies that we need to apply. Then we need someone that knows the business side of that project. We need someone that knows the strategy behind it. Is it something on a critical path, core technology, or is it some short-term customer-related project, whatever, what it is.
But practically, how does that work? Do you get a call telling you, okay, we want you, do you have a team to do this? Or you hear that something is in development and you call and say, well, I have a perfect people for this.
I was exactly at that point, and remaining elements is, for example, in case of making a team in Serbia, me or some from my colleagues, or our peers from other locations where we sit, brainstorm, and find arguments. Arguments are winning, not some crazy ideas, decisions, whatever. Arguments are winning where we should go forward. Sometimes this would be a usual case. Okay, so what are the necessary constraints that this happens is that we do have this kind of technology in place, that we have this kind of talent in the house, that we are able to grow if it's needed in reasonable time. But that's all very, very closely related to trust, that we all together believe that the team here is capable to deliver it on quality and time.
Erhun, what's the case with Rivian?
Yeah, I mean, combination of many factors, like just building on that. I mean, like whether or not it's a white sheet project or the continuation of something, the current talent profile locally, if it's a kind of a brand new project, then what is the nature of the region? Because certain regions, like for instance in California, Southern California, have more embedded talent than Seattle. Seattle has more cloud than those kind of, Serbia has certain ingredients that plays into, and regional proximity. For instance, if your customer in Germany, then maybe Serbia makes sense. So it's a combination of various things, but nothing specific. Again, all sites are pretty much equal.
I believe in Microsoft things are already established quite a lot. So it's not easy to get a new project.
No, I think no. Actually, there is a lot of work. There is a lot of work in technology because always new things pop up. Always new technology pops up, and it's never done. Software is never done. Like services are never done. Our jobs are never done, right? So you can just it's an infinite game. But it's really a combination of these things that we mentioned. Sometimes we have a strategy that we figure out, we decide what to do, but within the strategy, of course, because the whole company needs to push in a certain direction. Sometimes it's in our area of ownership, we need to solve some problem, so we autonomously go and solve it. Sometimes it's through planning. In planning, we agree, as you said, like we brainstorm and we decide there's an urgent customer requirement, so who's best fit to go and do it. We need to do what is needed for customers. That's why customers are using our product. So it's really a combination of these. And I think the quality of any company is being able to respond to these customer requirements in as organized ways as possible, but still being agile, being ready to accept inputs, being ready to change, being ready to react. That is something you need to survive a long time in this business.
When Microsoft came here 20 years ago, it was the sole company, the sole development center here in Serbia. What has changed? I mean, and what are the advantages of having a hub now? I mean, you're coming from 3 quite big global companies. I mean, and there's much more than 3 of you, much more than 3 of your companies within Serbia alone. So,
the time passed, and we are all together doing it in the right way. So if you, on a long run, whatever it is, doing properly day by day, fulfilling the expectation.
But what's the advantage of the hub? I mean, why is it better when there's more companies? And would there be better if you were alone and all those talents would go to you?
No. I remember some 20 years ago, so when I was a really young engineer participating in some meetings out of my league at that time, and there were some VPs from Germany speaking about, and my CEO wanted to say that we have some excellent access to a talent, unique, and he said that's not good. You need to have a competitiveness on the market. You need to have a much more companies, and that's what we have right now. Why it's happening? Because we are all together in individual ways are doing the job properly. Sometimes it's visible in this kind of companies being on the market. Sometimes are very successful local companies. So we shouldn't forget about that as well.
Erhun?
What is the question?
The question is the hub. I mean, how is it important? I mean, when Rivian was deciding on coming to Serbian market, was that one of the reasons? Because there's a hub here, which means that there will be a lot of people
that help. Honestly,
that you
like
can steal from
like,
Microsoft and AMD.
No, but companies like Microsoft was one of them, help us and encourage us basically to come here. The talent and diversity of talent is extremely important. Especially when you bring product companies, then the talent gets diversified, because when you have more staff augmentation, it's more vertical. I want this skill set, but when you have the product, it goes. So therefore, that creates that ecosystem, because then the next ecosystem for Serbia start, because you want to hire a bunch of people from various talent. That for that you need product companies. So that helps. I mean, like established companies being in the region help us, and a few other companies watch for that. I mean, that's definitely having a hub here was a key thing. And then in 3 years, we ramp up to 600 people. I mean, that tells you.
Is it crowded now, Drazen?
Honestly, it is much better than it used to be. Is it crowded? Yes, a little bit more than previously. But there are many benefits from it. Like 15 years ago, it was very hard for us to hire from industry directly and get somebody with relevant experience in an area we need. Today, that is easier, because there are other companies and from where you can hire. So that speeds you up. Like if you have to hire from college and then educate your people within house, you're not going to grow to 500 people in 3 years, right? Like you have to have the industry from which you can hire. On the flip side of that, of course, you're going to lose some people to other players in the industry, but that's what you get. The flow of people, knowledge, expertise, it goes around. We exchange that across companies, and over several years, it's better for everyone, I think. And it's especially better for people like us working in this industry. For everyone in Serbia, it's better.
Overall progress.
Yeah, but there's always, I mean, when you have people like you assembled at one place, there's always a good thing to send a message to administration. So what would be your message saying what has to be done, changed, or improved in order to have more companies or more people employed here, Djordje?
I just didn't hear the message to whom?
To administration, to government.
To administration,
I mean,
government.
what about regulation, about the ecosystem?
But I think I touched that in a way that what I said, normal working environment that must be in place. If I take a look like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, this is now in much better shape in every aspect, whatever it is it infrastructure and whatever you mean by that. For example, we can, as AMD, for our development purposes, we need to have a strong power supply for the data centers, servers that we have in-house in order for the development. That needs to be, that cannot be a problem to solve, you know, that kind of stuff. But that's secondary. And I agree with the comment, education, support the university, that's the stuff. We all should do it, support the education process that it produce more and more higher quality talents. That is the best advertisement for the country and for our industry altogether.
Drazen.
Yeah, I need to say totally, like the normal business environment is a must, like we assume it. So each time I see there's a map of Europe and with some statistics and Serbia is a blank spot there, I get worried. Like, why are we a blank spot? Somebody somewhere wasn't connected enough to share the data. Or like where there's a drop-down list on a site and you don't see Serbia there is a problem, right? Like, so we need to be connected to the world. In terms of infrastructure, I think we're doing very well. Internet, power, etc. Like offices, real estate. I think we're doing very well there. So business environment, like legally, let's not have any obstacles, any new obstacles, any reasons not to be part of the world. That is essential. And then top thing is education. And I need to be very honest. Like looking at my kids going through elementary school and high school, I am worried. I am worried with the teachers and the programs and stuff there, and we should be very open about it. Like our education system has always been very good. That's why we are here today. It needs to be very good in the future. So that's why it's highly important. From elementary school all the way to university, that is our top priority. Countries that have awesome education systems are the countries you envy. Countries that don't are the countries you don't want to live in. Very simple. So like we need to do our best there.
So like I'm gonna probably develop on that, but the innovation sits on 4 legs, right? So education is number 1, then the industry, then the regulations, then the stability. So I mean, I think if we can, and risk-taking money, obviously, you know, for the. But it's so I think educational and, you know, double down, that's the reason that we are in. Cash incentives, all this is great, but the education is number 1 because talent pool is global for us. We have multiple centers, so that's number 1. What we can improve, little bit, we could use a little bit more EV chargers in town, you know, a little bit more investment in the sustainability. I mean, sometimes when I present, like, yes, it's great. We are creating one of the most amazing cars, but we don't have public EV chargers, little bit in the sustainability. And then less paperwork in the bureaucracy helps. I think like there are certain institutions really trying for the innovations in the government, but but then also the foundation of government still regulations is pretty heavy, pretty old school paper, you know, wet signature focus. I think any improvements there would be great, and stability, obviously.
So before I ask the audience their questions, the last questions for me would be, if you were to open development center somewhere else, what would be your main requirement when you were making that decision with all the knowledge that you have from Serbia? Erhun.
I think for me, again, I'm going to go back to education because I can hire many people, but to sustain that.
So you ask, what's your education system? And
exactly. That's what we doubled down.
Okay, Drazen.
I would look for a place where I can replicate the culture we have here, and that is based on education and then also position within the company? Do you have enough autonomy and space to actually create a great place? So those would be two dimensions.
Djordje.
Answer is absolutely the same, so no need to repeat. Education and the talent. That's the reason. If there is no talent, I'm not going anywhere. If there is talent, I'm considering everything else.
So, are there any questions from the audience? Let me see. Let me see in the app. Oh, yes. Do you have any defined guidelines of ethical codes you follow when reaching out to talent currently employed at other companies? In your view, is the talent market becoming saturated to the point where finding qualified candidates is increasingly difficult, thereby requiring companies to offer higher compensation packages? Drazen.
To an extent, yes. I mean, the compensation has gone up, and it has become better on average in the industry due to competition for talent. We've been also aggressively hiring over the last number of years, like only over the last 2 years, we've grown by 30%, and we still intend to hire another 100 people by summer. So it's not easy. Hiring takes a lot of work. But it still works. The ecosystem still produces.
Guidelines or ethical codes you follow?
Yes, Microsoft has strict compliance on how recruiters should work, how interviewers should work, what's the process, how we treat candidates' data according to GDPR and other. I imagine it will be very similar to.
So are we smart but expensive? Here, are we in Serbia? Are we smart but expensive? What would you say? What would you say?
Smart or expensive?
No, are we smart but expensive? I mean, I'm just following on this.
Getting there.
Getting smart or getting expensive?
Getting expensive.
Okay.
I have a global footprint in Europe, so I have exposure. Getting expensive, yes, but worthwhile.
The next question, I'll address it to Djordje. What is the best way we all can support education system and students from your position and perspectives?
But as I said, there are really absolutely many ways. So everyone here is a member of some company or owner of a company. It's not easy. It's not easy. It takes time. It takes a lot of work and skills in order to open the first door to, for example, speak to the students inside some subject on a mathematical or electrical faculty here about compilers, for example. That was what we've been doing like for previous 10 years. But then when you do it for the first time, when kids, students, talents hear it from the experts that are doing it. At that time, I was in a service-based company, and we did the same stuff for a Qualcomm, Cisco, AMD. That was mind-blowing for the kids. Wow, this exists in Serbia. I can't work in such a company. And some of them then join us for a scholarship programs. They end up in a competitors on the market, irrelevant. Some will stay in our company, and we are all together bringing the value.
Yes, and the question I'll address it to Erhun. How much does geopolitics influence your area of work? For example, USA taxes, EU non-membership, regional tensions. Does it influence confidentiality, data privacy, intellectual property, and similar?
Limited right now, but again, I'll be honest, some of the regional stabilities basically we need to explain to headquarters, maybe that's about it, internal stabilities and etc. But no, at this point of time.
And since we are at the very end, just briefly, how do you see your perspective in, let's say, 5 or 10 years, Erhun?
I think we committed here, and then our products will be coming to Europe. And basically, whatever the Microsoft or Amazon to automotive, to the industry, we want to be that hub to automotive industry. Basically, we want to enable the future of European automotive here with our cooperation with Volkswagen.
Microsoft is very committed. For the last 20 years, we are definitely very committed to Serbia because we have strategic teams here in certain areas. And we talked a lot about the numbers and employees here, but I think in 5 or 10 years, one very important aspect is that will remain there regardless of the number of people is I would like us to stay working on cutting-edge projects and critical projects for the company. That will be our key mission. And we need to see what the future of efficiency and software development brings with AI and all of the tools coming, which we are very much focused in, right? Like, so scaling our impact that way.
There's no question mark. We are here to stay. The plans are already in place. I cannot share the details, of course, on the stage right now that what's not being published until now. But anyway, the long-term plan is here. We are already doubled ourselves since in previous 15 months since we started. So we are growing. I got a couple of questions in some previous interviews. What distinguishes us from the rest of the AMD? That's not the idea. We just want to be integral part of the AMD as any other R&D center in the AMD and working on that.
Thank you, guys. We exhausted our time on this panel. Let me present you with your certificates.
Thank you very much.
You passed.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Good to know.
And thank you. And you know them, you heard them. Be proactive. Find them here, and ask whatever you want to. And we are continuing with the second panel. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, maybe. Ako ima neko da nas slika. Aha. Okay.
Thank you.
Treba da vas zamenim. Da, evo upravo dolazi. Spremni. Jesmo ozvučeni? Okay, the panel number, the second keynote panel of the day, when insight isn't enough. This keynote panel explores the all too common disconnect between analytics team that delivers strong insights and decision makers who fail to act on them. We'll look at the root causes, from risk aversion to misaligned incentives to communication gaps, and what it takes to bridge that divide. Here are Miroslav Grbović, head of CRM at Banka Intesa, and Valentin Konja, director of business operation at NCR Atlas. Thank you for being here, and let me start. Of course, I'm going to remind the audience to be proactive with sending questions to the app, so I can have an idea how many people want to ask something. But let's start with the very basic questions. What do you consider, Valentin? What do you consider as a good insight?
Good insight, from my perspective, is definitely something that, we can use, not us, but also the business leaders, the business community, the actual users of the insight can use to make decisions. So if the insight is very good, for example, you have lots of data, it can happen that if the decision makers don't understand the data, or they just don't feel that it's their data, they will not make decisions based on it, and it will just, after a couple of months, that data will just disappear, and it's like you never worked on it. So it definitely has to have a value for the business leaders. It has to drive decision. That's the most important part. If it doesn't drive a decision, if it's just sitting there, it's a nice data, it's perfect, you see all sorts of different KPIs, but it's not driving a decision, then it's not a good insight.
You're talking like someone who saw data disappear.
Yes.
How often?
Very, very often. So the key element is, when you are creating new teams and new data teams, new insight teams that will deliver crazy good insights. Often people make mistakes that, you start with the data and you create all these KPIs and you think they are wonderful. But the big thing to do is actually consult with the leaders that will consume the data, the insights, and start with their requirements. That's the only way to be successful.
We'll come to that, but let me hear from Miroslav about the insight. What do you consider as a good insight?
I could take it as a tricky question. So if I would have known what is the good insight, then probably we wouldn't need machine learning algorithms to find good insight from the vast amount of data that we are pouring them and actually expecting from them to tell us what is the good insight out of it. But apart from that, so since we are coming from the business industry and we are the ultimate, let's say, goal or objective that we are thinking about are the customers and the business needs. We can think of various kind of insights. Maybe what customers think, we don't know. There is plenty of topics on this conference and previous regarding what the customers tell us. So what they prompt, what they ask for, or what they complain. But what I do believe is most important insight is what the customers do. So this is the ultimate, let's say, objective or problem that we are trying to solve. Trying to get them somewhere, trying to have them doing something. So the most important is to understand what they do. Also, we need this not in a kind of descriptive way, some, let's say, general information. We need this on a customer level, on a personal level. We need to understand what Zoran wants, what he actually does. Maybe he complains.
If he knows.
We will not go into that. We are interested what Zoran does. Maybe he complains, maybe he dislikes and says loudly, but he's a great customer. So, meaning that we are doing a good job.
But are you having a problem with the volume of data, volume of insights that you are getting, and then you have to make this decision, what are we going to use?
I think we are wrong person to ask this question. We are never satisfied with the amount of data.
You always want more.
Yeah. So basically, this is part of the job. This is how the big data actually was discovered, and the more data doesn't mean more garbage in. Of course, you are thinking of relevant source of information, again on a customer level, from all potential channels of communication of the company with the client, and all areas where you can see what, again, customers are doing. hypothetically, not only within your ecosystem, but then we are going into the, let's say, maybe some ethical issues, GDPR issues, etc. But generally, that's kind of ambition of everyone who is dealing with data.
Valentin, the volume of insights, is it getting scary? I mean, now with all these tools that you have to collect data.
It does to a certain extent, at least in my area. We have AI today, and everyone is talking about AI. Everyone is using AI. AI is a powerful tool to help you select the data that you need. However, you still need a person who understands the data, who understands the insights to select what will be valuable for your business. Now, I can understand your view as well, because you have end users, end customers, regular people that do transactions, with your bank. But in the business-to-business world, sometimes it is more important to select the, more valuable data, because, as you said, there's a vast amount of data. Every day you have more and more data. You can't always use everything. You have to select what's most valuable and which ones will be valuable for your business to drive business growth, basically.
So can insights be misleading? I mean, does it happen that you get an insight and you say, well, I have a different feeling, or some senior member of your team is saying, well, that's not going to work, and you for some reason trust him?
Yes, it does happen. It does happen, basically. So often, because of, when you get the data, when you create a good insight based on that, you have to first understand what that insight is telling you. So, there are differences, between different leaders, between different countries, regions, all that stuff. And sometimes the data doesn't make sense. It's not the same for each. So you have to really look into the fact, whether that data, when you got to the end point, does it really say what you wanted it to say? Can you drive the decisions based on that? Or you go back to the drawing board and search another set of data that will be better.
Find the data that better suits my needs. Sometimes I think that it is maybe my needs are wrong. Maybe the data is proving me to, basically sending me a message you have to change.
Yes, but for example, if you have the perfect data and no one is acting upon it, then you don't have the perfect data. It's simple as that.
Okay, I'll come back to that, but I want to hear from Miroslav about this misleading.
Yeah.
Because Miroslav was nodding all the time when I was asking the question.
Yeah, that's the name of the game, actually. What we are doing is actually trying to minimize the errors. When you develop machine learning models, when you try to target, I'll talk from my perspective, what we do in the Banca Intesa CRM, when you try to find the right product for the customer, or the right customers for the product, we definitely trying to mitigate the misleading effect. The good thing about that, or the only thing how can you manage that, is that you can actually monitor and that you can have, let's say, inbuilt and implemented industry standards for measuring that, not, as you said, asking senior colleague, or let's say someone who is more experienced or has longer tenure in the company, but to have that inbuilt in your technology, in your models, in verifying them, in checking and tracking the results prior to deploying them into the production, and of course tracking them finally and ultimately in the production, seeing how these offers that you're getting are actually not fitting your needs.
How does that practically work? I mean, you have some good insights, but you have to present them to the executives who are making the decision. Do you need better executives? Because I don't know, with the present state, would they say, I lost you after 2 sentences? I have no idea what you're talking about. Is that the case, or how does it work? Miroslav.
Well, if you have executives that, first and foremost, are in that setup that you discussed with them, these kinds of topics, that's good. That means that they actually allocated part of the business to you and to use your tools and knowledge to run the business. So that's already a good thing. Let's say explanatory part of the work is also part of the business. And I've heard on some previous presentations from gaming industry, they're combining the business analysts with the data analysts, and we have them since day one. So that's a natural part of the, let's say, skill set of the data scientists in the CRM team. So they have to know to explain, first to understand the problem they are solving that has been allocated by these top managers to you, and then they have to know how to explain it. And we went through this, let's say, heavily involved and engaged at the beginning of this evolution. From, let's say, traditional sales models and business models, relying on older and experienced colleagues who know how to sell something and to whom, to completely data-driven, on machine learning-driven model where the people from CRM are actually addressing these kind of questions and explaining why. And that's part of their job. So that's part of this business analyst or business understanding skill set that we are looking for since the recruiting phase of the let's say, organizational work.
So you say you wouldn't waste a good insight in your system?
The waste of the insight
if you have a good insight, you have to present it to the executives, and you're sure that it will work each time?
Well, yes, and show why it doesn't work or can't work as well. Even prior we step into some, let's say, activity. If we see and in evaluation phase and visibility phase that we don't have enough insight, that's too early to rely on machine learning, that's also part of the process. So that's the episode that we went through so far.
What is your workflow with insights?
Okay, well, on top of what you just said, basically we added a process, in the last couple of years where developing an insight actually starts with talking to the executives, talking to the very senior leaders. We have a very open channel, open communication, and we understand first their requirements. So that's the most important thing. Only when we understand their requirements, then we go to the second phase of setting up the KPIs and the metrics, that those insights should show us. After that, we hunt for the data that can get us to those KPIs. Once we are in that phase, we are in literally a daily communication with the executives, presenting them, adjusting, based on their needs. There's often, the case where they don't understand it, they don't understand part of it. Then we try to make it more accessible to them. Of course, the selling process that you mentioned, is very important. Explaining process is very important because every person is different, and I might understand some data, you might not. So we need to discuss it actively every single day. And then when we adjust the data, we adjust the insights, then we are ready basically to roll out. So that's the process that we use.
And are the executives, are they interested, to learn, more interested than before in learning, more enthusiastic actually about the insights than they were before?
Well, I would say it's person to person. It really is person to person. Some examples would be when new executives join the company, they really want to learn. They need to learn the business. They want to, have good insights. But when, for example, someone is very senior, very long time in the company, with long tenure, they sometimes tend to, stick with what they have and, just, keep the status quo sometimes. That's why, we also need to be change agents, to make sure that they understand why we are delivering new insights and what can they do with those new insights. How can they drive the business? How can they make the business more efficient? So
you think it's a generational thing?
Not a generational thing. I don't think so, because we have all generations, people different, in those aspects. Someone really likes data, someone, is more prone to deliver decisions based on a hunch. So that it's not a generational thing, I wouldn't say.
Fully agree with Valentin. So on both questions, so it's person to person, depends, and it's not generational thing, and it's not also related to the level of in your organizational structure. So it's really personal, basically, as Valentin elaborated.
Does regulation in the banking sector slows you down when you're trying to make a decision based on the insights? I mean, do you have good insights, but regulations is saying we have to slow down because we cannot use that promptly as you would like to?
I don't think so. From my experience, not. I mean, we are not yet in that sort of saturation of, let's say, fulfilling our ambitions in data that we are stretching beyond and getting into the phase where the regulator has to jump in. So I don't think so. I think it's internal sort of limitations that are major to the further business development, at least from my experience.
Valentin?
Well, from my experience, it does, because we do operate globally in almost every country in the world, and it depends on country to country, I would say. So we did have major implementations, for example, where we had very good insights, but the regulator, and I'm not going to mention the country names, but very developed countries actually, they have their regulator has their own set of rules, and they want to see a report exactly, how it's done for the last 15, 20 years. They want to see those numbers. They don't want to see anything else. And our job in those cases is to deliver those reports. It's simple as that, because it's the regulator, it's big countries, we can't change them. In often cases, especially, for example, in the Middle East region, you have countries like Qatar, like, Kuwait, where, they want to be very innovative. And in those cases, they are not putting those restraints on us. They want to see new things. They want to see new insight, even the regulators. And it's just dependent, on a global market from country to country.
Before I ask the question from the audience, one question from me. Can you share an example where you had high quality insight that was not acted upon, that simply went away, was wasted?
Yes, we did have a recent example, let's say in the last 1 year, where we developed completely new set of insights that would drive operational efficiency. First of all, comparison, as we are a global company, comparison region to region, country to country, customer to customer, and we actually found a lot of operational efficiency pockets that we can achieve with that. However, we made the mistake that I mentioned before, where we haven't aligned the requirements before with the executives and the business leaders, and they just didn't see it as a valuable thing. So we had to go in a different route and sell it to them.
So you found your way around?
Yes.
So it's not wasted in the end?
Well, not wasted, but you need a lot more effort, you need to change some data, you need to change some parts of the insight, to make it to the executives to feel like it's their own, like, they feel it. And then you can act upon it.
Yeah,
since we are in charge of developing the models for targeting customers for campaigns for certain products, so it happens that the business need is a campaign for a certain product, but either the internal decision or the situation in the market or the competitors actually interfere decision to go live with this product. So the work behind the development of the models and is, let's say, a waste of work. But I don't take it personally. I don't consider it as a waste. That's part of the business. That's usually good decision. I mean, since we are not acting autonomously because of ourselves. So you have to expect to be influenced by the others, by external factors. So that's I would say normal, sort of
But
normal.
are you thinking now about some particular case?
Yeah. Yes, we developed some model for the small business investment loans, so it's a very concrete case.
And this insight didn't work, or what?
No, we didn't deploy it. We didn't go in the campaign since the business decided not to go with that product at that time. So
Do you think they made a mistake?
I don't think so. I don't think so. They had arguments, as the previous colleagues mentioned on the previous session. The arguments always won. So if there are valid arguments, especially in business decisions, that's it.
Okay, let's go for the question from the audience. What are your methods for motivating staff in traditional banking environments to actively engage with digital and data transformation initiatives?
Empowering them, and I'm not saying this like some general expression or buzzword, but empowering young, talented people that we have to take responsibility to run business, to come up with the new ideas, to deploy them in real life. With real customers, to support them when things go wrong, and move forwards. So that's at least my personal management style, if you can call it.
What would be your field?
Yeah, I would second that, and I would just say that giving the freedom to people to come up with their own ideas is probably the best approach. So if you are setting too much boundaries, they are not going to be interested in that. Sometimes we are hearing about data can be boring. Not everyone likes data. Let's be honest. But giving the people freedom to create their own models, their own ideas, to implement things that they come up with, but also, with the responsibility that you mentioned, that they are responsible for delivering it. That's a good approach, definitely. That we use in the past and we use it every day, and people get excited, they get motivated with that, and you just start seeing an inflow of good insights, more and more every day.
But does acting on insights, especially when they carry significant business impact, does it require a certain amount of courage and risk tolerance? Maybe
yes.
You can start.
Yes, it absolutely does, at least in our world. Sometimes, changing something in a big environment is difficult. We have more than 20,000 people globally in the company. And sometimes, driving change can be hard because you need to explain to the people. You need to, make them, feel the change and, actually be on board with it. So when you are making changes, you have to first, evaluate, how it will impact the entire company, how it will impact the employees, how it will impact the customers. And of course, it does carry a risk because you make A or B, both of them will have certain amount of risk. Sometimes, risk is small and, it's just, whether we are going to grow 5% or 10%, but sometimes the risk is, to the extent that, we can even, not grow at all or even, go backwards. So yes, it does. In a major system, it really does have a risk. It takes a lot of courage, especially for the executives. They need to make the decision. That's why, we are tending to get them the best insights that we can so that the risk is minimized. And, we are then making the best decision possible.
Yes,
the great question. I don't know if you kept it for the end. You definitely need courage on all levels. for top management to make decisions to go that way. And we made this decision 5 or more years ago. And it is cascaded throughout the organization to the junior data scientists who are actually encouraged to develop models for targeting and running most important campaigns for the biggest bank in Serbia, for the and I'm proud to say the pioneer and I would say the leader in deploying AI in commercial activities. So not in chatbots, but in actually making money. It's not for faint-heart managers nor people. So yeah, definitely you need to manage the risk and
some courage.
And the courage. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Do we have any questions from the? Okay, additional one because oh yes. Are there any specific practices, incentives, or communication approaches have you found actually reduce that frustration? That reduce that frustration of the insight not being used to keep the analytics and data science teams engaged?
Well, yeah, it happens. Yeah, that some decisions maybe are bypassing the data used as a source of or argument for decision making. That happens, and yeah, it is could be frustrating, especially knowing that the data or analytics or AI can help making better decisions.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I suppose so. Is there anything that you would then communicate to the teams to actually keep them engaged?
Well, I didn't take that question in that way. It's more like organizational level, not within the team. But yeah, the culture of enriching the data and using and not wasting it is part of the job. The same way as developing the business sense, the same way the culture and nurturing the culture of using data and not wasting it is part of the evolution of the people.
Yeah, what I would just add to that is, one good practice that we noticed in the recent past is, when we deliver an insight, a data set, a KPI, communicating and also asking the leaders to verify that that's the data, that's my team's data, that's my business data, yes, it's good or it's not good, or just having the say in that to adjust a minor thing, for example, it really goes a long way, because in that case, they are actually, thinking that they contributed. Now, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, every leader and every person, does get deep into the data and verifies every single thing, but asking them to verify, and even if they don't read it and just say yes, it is a good practice, because in that case, they just feel it as their data, they verified it, and they are happy with it, and they will most likely act upon it.
Okay, do you prepare AI model training in advance, or you train it based on the specific business requirements once it comes in, Valentin?
In our business, we do things based on the specific business requirements. Because of the vast majority of services and business that we do globally, so we do have to keep things in the channels. Basically, we can't generalize things. We need to act on business requirements.
Yeah, definitely. The business requirement is a starting point of every machine learning activity. So, as I mentioned earlier, even from the inception of idea, we are involved in discussions whether this can be addressed with the machine learning and how, etc., etc. So, for various, let's say, objectives, segmentations, targeting, etc.
So you're not anticipating that something might happen in the future, and you'll be prepared for this by training an agent that can resolve that issue once when it comes up, because you see it's coming.
From this business perspective of a bank, it doesn't go that way. The foundation of building reliable machine learning models is to have enough data to be learned on. So that's part of this feasibility analysis. And if you go with something unknown or not adopted even in your market, this is where it's early phase. Maybe that's the phase we call it for collecting the data, okay. Going back to the beginning of our discussion where we learn what the customers do.
But how much do you trust to your AI agents? Are they reliable? Because we know they can hallucinate. I don't want them to hallucinate with my money.
Speaking of AI models, we are primarily dealing with traditional machine learning models, and we are also very sensitive of their hallucinations in terms of traditional machine learning in their errors or wrong decisions, picking up the wrong customers or offering wrong products. So again, we are measuring that. We have control groups, this is something sort of A/B testing. We are testing it also on a channel level, which channel is the customer is more prone to or likes more, and this is something that we measure. So if without that, you shouldn't do this kind of activity.
Valentin?
I would say that AI and the machine learning models are extremely powerful tool to deliver the insights and meet the business requirements. However, we did a measurement actually recently, and we achieved a 7.1 increase in the speed of how we are delivering things today compared to things without AI. But at the end, a human who really understands the business, has to verify what AI delivers. I don't think we are today at the stage where we can just blindly trust AI. There are mistakes sometimes that it makes, hallucinations. Sometimes you have a data set that is skewed. If the data set is skewed for 5%, that's fine, but sometimes you have, 10, 20%. In those cases, AI can make mistakes, and you have to understand what AI gives you at the end, and you have to validate it. You have to make sense of it.
Okay. Any more here? Just wait for the microphone, please. The front row.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of hallucinations for AI. So what about the examples of, let's say, hallucinations of the business according to lack of KPIs defined, and what parameters or relations you want to have for insight? What I'm saying is it when insight is not enough, sometimes consequence of not enough defined KPIs or relationships and context?
Okay, I would say that, sometimes, there can be two cases. First, not enough insight, but sometimes you also have too many KPIs, and leaders tend to get lost. If you have 30 KPIs set up for one thing, it's not going to be a good thing, because they need a couple of powerful KPIs that they can actually make their decisions based on. That relation for us is actually understanding what are those KPIs that we actually need to deliver, then what is the data that will get us to those KPIs. It's, for us, it's a both way, a two-way street. So we have to understand, when is it too much? Did we deliver too much? Did the leaders start getting lost in it? So we have to make sure that the KPIs are on point. If we have too many KPIs, it's not going to mean that, we did a good thing. We have to deliver the right KPIs.
Yeah, from CRM perspective, the KPIs are very clear, all the way to the top level. So the hallucinations in our work are conversion rates. So it's measured in the success of your campaign, and the ultimate one is contribution of your campaigns to the overall sales. where your business model relies on campaigns. So the KPIs are there and absolutely visible.
Okay, another question here. Since you can make that data lie, how do you make sure that the insights are true and not gathered to support an executive's opinion?
From our experience, that might be the challenge for organizations who are not yet into this sort of model where the top management believes that data-driven business is the way forward. And we went through this phase at the beginning, a long time ago. But yeah, I would say if the top management does not believe in this way of running the business, they would even started it. Delegation or determination to go this way has to go, let's say, top down.
Valentin.
Well, I would definitely say that, we do have certain cases sometimes that, leaders are not trusting the data and, they believe it's different and they are requesting changes, my business
Give me better data.
Yeah. So it does happen, occasionally. However, most important thing to do there is, you should not manually intervene with the data. We cannot make manual changes. If we detect that some data set is, wrong for a certain reason, we eliminate that data set. But, making manual changes to data set based on leaders' requirements, based on executives' requirements is never the right thing to do. Data is telling us something. Did we show it properly? That's the question. So it might be that we didn't show it properly. We didn't create a good insight based on the data. But data should never be changed manually. That's the most important thing in our line of business.
Okay, and finally, can you tell us what would be your ideal data to decision pipeline, something that's like flawless, I mean, from the insight to the final decision? How does it look?
Understanding the requirement, creating a set of KPIs based on the requirement, then validating those KPIs with the leaders, then getting to the data set that will get us to those KPIs. After we actually got to the phase of pilot phase of with the KPIs, with the metrics, then we validate it with the leaders, as I mentioned before, and then we deploy it. Then we show it to the public.
Okay, Miroslav.
Yeah, since I agree with this, maybe I would complement it from organizational part of or view to this. I would see it as flawless, like unlimited process where all required resources are in place and available. And that goes to the business resources, data scientists, data engineers, infrastructure to meet the customer needs. So if we are living in an era where the customer behavior changes dramatically, migrating to the digital channels, so the requirements of all above mentioned is of utmost importance. So I would say that the flawless kind of work heavily depends on changing the traditional way of working in order for all these participants to feel like doing their job flawlessly.
So out of 10 decisions made from the insight, how many were from the flawless pipeline? What would you say? Have you seen it ever?
No, we are not there yet, of course, but we are definitely way
closer.
Yeah, we're getting closer, but I would say the hardest part is behind us. And I mean there in the mindset of the company, how the business should be run. This is the prerequisite for a flawless future.
Valentin?
I would say 60 to 70%,
Flawless?
Yes, but it wasn't an easy route to get here. at least in our business. Before, just 5-6 years ago, it was probably from 0 to 10%. We got to a much better stage now, but then you still have those 30-40% where leaders are going to make decisions based on just their hunch, based on their knowledge of the business, based on knowledge of the market. So,
and does the insight proves them wrong sometimes?
yes.
And what happens then?
Well, then we are trying to get, better insights or sell them the insights so that they can make more decisions based on the insights. But I do think that we'll never reach 100%. That's not, that cannot be done. There always, need to be that percentage of, a good executive will make a good decision because they have a really good knowledge of the business and a good hunch. So most of it will be based on data, but then there's that part where, they're just good in what they are doing.
Okay, thank you for being on this panel, and I will produce you with
Thanks.
certificates.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for being here with us.